The first time I saw the locket, it was in my grandmother's trembling hands. She clutched it like a secret, the silver chain spilling through her fingers like liquid moonlight. I was 12 then, kneeling on the worn Persian rug in her attic, surrounded by trunks of yellowed letters and moth-eaten dresses that smelled of lavender and thyme. "Never open this, Claire," she whispered, pressing the cold metal into my palm. Her eyes, usually so sharp, were clouded with something I didn't understand. Fear. "Not until I'm gone." Then she tucked it into my pocket and never spoke of it again. 15 years later, the locket was the only thing I inherited. The lawyer's office smelled of lemon polish and regret. "Your grandmother left you the property in Blackwater Cove," Mr. Henderson said, sliding a manila envelope across his desk. His tie was too tight, his smile too practiced. "Though I should warn you, the house has been vacant since the incident." I already knew about the incident. The one that had sent my mother fleeing Blackwater at 17, pregnant and screaming about shadows in the walls. The one no one in our family ever discussed. The drive to Maine took 8 hours. The house appeared at dusk, its gabled roof piercing the storm clouds like a warning. Blackthorn Manor. My grandmother's pride. My mother's nightmare. And now mine. The front door groaned open on its own. The locket burned in my pocket as I stepped inside. Dust swirled in the fading light, settling on furniture draped in yellowed sheets. The air tasted of damp wood and something else, something metallic, like old pennies. My flashlight beam caught the portrait above the mantel. My grandmother as a young woman, her smile not quite reaching her eyes. Behind her, barely visible in the background, a door stood ajar. A door that didn't exist in the house's blueprints. I found it on the 3rd floor. A narrow hallway led to a room that shouldn't have been there. The door was black, its surface carved with symbols that made my eyes water. The locket in my pocket grew heavier, its pulse matching my own frantic heartbeat. "Not until I'm gone." My fingers found the clasp. The locket opened with a sigh. Inside was no photograph, only a small iron key and a slip of paper with 2 words, "The nursery." The house seemed to breathe around me as I climbed to the 4th floor. The nursery door was painted white, its handle smudged with tiny fingerprints. Inside, a mobile of carved ravens turned slowly in a non-existent breeze. The wallpaper, once cheerful yellow, was stained with something dark near the baseboards. That's when I saw the writing. Scrawled in child's handwriting beneath the windowsill. "Mama says I have to be quiet when the man comes." My phone chose that moment to die. The temperature dropped 20 degrees. And from the hallway came the unmistakable sound of someone humming a lullaby. The journal was hidden beneath a loose floorboard. My grandmother's handwriting filled every page, growing increasingly frantic. "The door wasn't there yesterday. Ellie woke screaming again. Says the tall man watches her sleep. I heard it chewing last night." The final entry was dated October 31, 1989, the night before my mother fled. "It's getting stronger. I've locked Ellie in the attic. God forgive me, it wants the baby." A floorboard creaked behind me. I turned slowly. The black door stood open. What followed wasn't a fight, it was a reckoning. The thing that emerged wasn't my grandmother. Not anymore. Its smile stretched too wide, its fingers too long as they scraped against the nursery walls. The locket's key glowed in my hand as it advanced, its voice a grotesque parody of the woman who'd raised me. "Claire," it crooned, "you have your mother's eyes." I did the only thing I could. I ran. Not downstairs, but up. To the attic. To the heavy trunk where my grandmother had kept her secrets. Inside, beneath layers of aged silk, lay the answer. A revolver loaded with silver bullets, and a photograph of my grandmother standing before the black door, her face grim. On the back, a single word, hunger. The thing was waiting when I turned around. The gunshot echoed through the house like thunder. The creature screamed, a sound that shook the walls and shattered every window. It staggered back, black ichor bubbling from its chest where the silver had struck true. The locket around my neck grew hot as the door behind it began to shrink, its edges curling inward like burning paper. "Not my family," I whispered, firing again. This time, the thing exploded into smoke and whispers. The door collapsed in on itself with a sound like a sigh. Morning light revealed the truth. The black door was gone. Only wallpaper remained, yellowed and peeling. The nursery's stains had faded to faint shadows. And the locket? When I opened it, I found a new photograph inside, my grandmother holding my mother as a baby, both of them smiling. The lawyer called a week later. Found some old paperwork, he said. Turns out the house was willed to you and your mother. You should come sign the papers. I smiled, watching the movers load the last of my grandmother's trunks. I'll be there, I said. Because some doors should never stay closed. And some keys? They're meant to be used.